If you're not throwing the NEKO Rig, you're missing out on one of the deadliest finesse tricks in bass fishing. It nosedives, stands up, and it flat out fools pressured bass when nothing else works. So let me show you how to rig it, how to fish it, when to throw it, the gear setup, and what makes it such an effective bait. Usually what you're going to want to find is a 4 to 5 inch stick bait or straight tail worm. Now, what I love the action of the Z-Man TRD, this guy right here, and they are durable. So here's what they look like. This is the big TRD. This is the deal color. This is going to be the green pumpkin goby color. For that muddy water, I like breaking out the big TRD, the black and blue color right there. And what I like about using is you don't have to use any type of harness for the hook, right? Because it's that elastic material and you're not going to really lose a whole lot of these baits. That's why I love Z-Man. Now, once you have your baits, you're gonna wanna put a nail weight into the end. This is gonna be a Z-Man Shrooms. They call it a wacky rig weight right there. So they look like that. And they look like this because that elastic material, you're just gonna push it right down. It's gonna puncture that elastic, push it up over, and boom, that is not going to come out of there. And so this is what's going to take this and nosedive it to the bottom of the water. Now, if you're not using Z-Man, you have to do some nail weight. And a lot of times with the nail weight, you're going to want to put super glue in on it. But I love the Z-Man. This is what I recommend. Also, if you have a non-Z-Man worm, you're going to want to put some type of harness on it or some type of O-ring to make sure it keeps in place and your hook doesn't rip out. When I use Z-Man products, I don't do that. And so what you're going to want to do is run the hook just like that. Right? And it's really key that this hook is up. Like, don't do it the other way where the hook is down. You want to make sure the hook is up, because when the bass comes and grabs this, you want to hook them right in the roof of the mouth. And so this right here is how you set up the NEKO Rig. So this is where the NEKO Rig, I'm going to use this interchangeably. This is where it shines. You cast it out, let it fall, and watch your line. A ton of bites happen on the initial drop. Now, once it hits the bottom, you want to give this little hops or little shakes in the slack line, and it will dance on the bottom just like this. Right? And the weighted end will dig into the bottom, and what bass will see is a really easy meal. On windier conditions, keep your rod tip down and just twitch it along the bottom. A lot of anglers don't realize that when they pop their rod tip, right? When they pop it like this, they may be moving that bait feet, not inches. They think they're moving in inches, but keep in mind, subtle pops along the bottom. So the NEKO Rig is designed to mimic a couple of different natural food sources for bass, depending on how you work it, right? You got the feeding baitfish or minnows. This nail weight in the head makes the worm nosedive and stand up on the bottom, right? It's just kind of going around eating. Now, as you shake it or drag it, it looks like a small baitfish pecking at the bottom for food. Crayfish, when the worm is standing upright and wiggling, it imitates that defensive posture of a crayfish or a subtle movement of aquatic insects. And that upright tail waving in the current is a huge trigger for bass. So that's why it's so deadly. It covers multiple forage profiles in one presentation. And bass interpret it as a vulnerable food, whether they're feeding on baitfish, crawls, or just opportunistically grabbing an easy snack. Now, when should you throw the NEKO Rig? Here's the best part. You can throw it any time of the year. Clear to lightly stained water, money. Lazy fish that aren't really hungry, killer. Offshore rock piles or grass edges, deadly. The NEKO Rig is one of those techniques that shines when bass won't touch anything else. So most folks will agree that a spinning gear is the way to go. A 7-foot medium spinning rod, 10-pound braid to an 8-pound fluoro leader, and some type of finesse hook. But also don't forget your BFS, your bait finesse system, if you like throwing it on a bait caster. It gives you a little bit more control, and it's a lot of fun if that's your style. Now, when to use the different weights, right? So on the NEKO Shrooms, they're gonna come in a 1/2 ounce, 1/15 of an ounce, 1/10 of an ounce, and 1/6 of an ounce. And so let me walk you through what depth you would use each weight. 1/20 of an ounce, that's super tiny, right? You wanna use this in shallow water, like 1 to 5 feet. It falls really slow, so it looks natural and sneaky when fish are scared or the water is clear. 1/15 of an ounce, a little bit heavier. That's good for that 5 to 10 feet of water. Still slow and wiggly, but it sinks faster than, of course, at 1/20 of an ounce, so you won't wait forever for it to hit the bottom. 1/10 of an ounce. All right, this is gonna be great for that 10 to 15 feet, or if there's some wind pushing your line, it's gonna keep your bait on the bottom better while still looking like food. And that 1/6 of an ounce, right, this is the heavy one. This is best for that 15 to 20 feet of water where it's windy or choppy. It's gonna drop fast, it's gonna get down to the fish quick, and it's going to stay there. So what makes this thing so freaking good? So unlike a weighted wacky rig that just kind of shimmies down, the NEKO rig nosedives and stands straight up, giving fish a totally different look. It's subtle, natural, and it flats out puts pressured bass in the boat. And don't be afraid to power fish the NEKO, right? Use bigger worms, heavier weights, bait casting gear once you start getting those heavier presentations. And I like using it as a mop-up bait, right? When the fish stop biting bigger lures, I break out the NEKO rig. Few tips: make sure that you're keeping bottom contact, short hops, small shakes, always connected. Watch your line on the fall, many bites happening before it even hits the bottom. And I'm going to link the exact weights, the hooks, my favorite colors of the Z-Man, the NEKO Shroom weights, all in the description below. And if you like this bait breakdown, I have more for you. I got a video on the drop shot right there, on the swim jig right there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you.